Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Kane's good deed doesn't impress Lily, messy Thanksgiving run-in. Kane Ashby's good deed won't impress Lily Winters, so these exes are about to have a messy Thanksgiving run-in. It looks like it'll happen in the November 26th episode, so let's talk about Kane's next move and Lily's reaction. Just when it seemed like Lily was softening toward Kane and on her way to giving him another chance, he faced a major setback. After Lily realized Kane and Phyllis Summers had been together in a suite, her negative attitude came roaring back. Kane pushed for some time and suggested everything would become clear soon, but Lily is fed up with all the games and lack of honesty. Although Lily has tried to focus on the glimmers of the old Kane she sees from time to time, she mostly sees a man she doesn't recognize. Kane is manipulating Phyllis to some degree, but another part of him is fed up with Lily and all her rejections. Phyllis accepts and even likes Kane's flaws, so there's a certain appeal to continuing their dalliance. Plus, Kane still wants proof that Phyllis stole his AI program, so he has to keep playing this cat and mouse game with her. That said, Lily is Kane's true love and isn't someone he can just get over. Kane is always going to crave her approval and may hope she'll react positively to his upcoming good deed. It turns out Kane will pitch in on Crimson Light's Thanksgiving mission and help serve meals to those in need. YNR fans will see Kane don an apron and put some work into this, but Lily may suspect it's all an act when she crosses paths with him. Even if Lily acknowledges Kane is doing something positive for the community, it's going to take more than that to repair his image. One good deed won't be enough to fix Kane's relationship with Lily, especially if Phyllis comes around to stir the pot again. Kane Ashby's good deed doesn't impress Lily Winters, not even a little, and that's exactly why their messy, painfully raw Thanksgiving run-in becomes the emotional spectacle nobody in Genoa City sees coming. It all unfolds like a slow-moving train wreck in the November 26th episode, a day that should have been filled with gratitude and warmth, but instead becomes the battlefield of unresolved wounds, smothered hope, and two former lovers who can't stop circling each other like magnets they both want to resist and cling to. For a brief moment leading up to the holiday, it genuinely seemed like Lily was softening toward Kane again, inching closer to something that resembled forgiveness, maybe even the tiniest sliver of a second chance. She had been allowing glimpses of the old Kane to slip through the cracks of her defenses, tiny sparks that reminded her of the man who once stood beside her through the worst moments of her life. But then everything detonated the instant she learned Kane and Phyllis Summers had been in a suite together. That revelation was the match to the gasoline Lily didn't realize she'd been soaked in, and her negative attitude came roaring back with the blazing force of betrayal, disappointment, and exhaustion she's tried for years to outrun. Kane, desperate not to lose what remained of that fragile progress, pushed for time, just a little time, and insisted everything would make sense soon. But his pleas felt like déjà vu to Lily, who's grown far too accustomed to Kane promising clarity soon, yet never delivering anything except more frustration. She sees the patterns she once excused, the emotional boomerang she used to rationalize, the charm she once let blind her to the instability underneath. Lily is fed up, with the games, the secrecy, the manipulation that always seems to coil around Kane like a shadow he can't shake. And while she's tried, truly tried, to stay open-minded, to focus on those short-lived glimmers of the man she once loved so deeply it felt like breathing, she mostly sees someone she doesn't recognize anymore. Someone unpredictable. Someone reckless. Someone who refuses to be honest until his back is wedged against a wall. Kane, for his part, is trapped in a maddening emotional tug-of-war. He's manipulating Phyllis Summers, because of course he is, but he's also exhausted by Lily's rejections, each one another bruise on a heart that's already been beaten down by his own mistakes. And yet, even as Phyllis offers something effortless, chaotic, but effortless, Lily remains the gravitational pull he can't escape. Phyllis accepts him, flawed and messy and morally flexible. She doesn't ask him to be better the way Lily does. In fact, she likes his sharp edges, the same edges Lily tries to sand down. There's an appeal to that acceptance, a seductive comfort in being wanted without conditions. But underneath all the temptation, Kane is constantly battling a deeper motive, the burning need for proof that Phyllis stole his AI program. That is the real reason he's continuing this twisted cat-and-mouse game with her, using flirtation and proximity as weapons until he can corner her in her own lies. But even amid that secret agenda, Kane finds himself drawn to Phyllis in ways he didn't anticipate, because she doesn't judge him, she uses him, yes, but she doesn't judge him. Still, as tangled as things have become, Lily remains the woman who shaped him, steadied him, believed in him long before he believed in himself. She is his true love, the one connection he can't just get over no matter how hard he pretends he might someday. Kane craves her approval as deeply as his next breath, which is why he clings to this idea that the good deed he's planning will somehow shift Lily's perception, even a little. He hopes she'll see past the wreckage, past his impulses, past the mess he keeps creating, and notice, just for once, that he's trying. That he isn't all bad. That he's still capable of doing something right. That he's still the man she once trusted with her heart. So Kane pitches in on Crimson Light's annual Thanksgiving mission, trying to turn the holiday into a redemption arc. He dons an apron, rolls up his sleeves, and throws himself into serving meals for those who need warmth far more than he does. He offers smiles, encouragement, plates of food, anything that might showcase the good in him Lily once loved. And for a while, as he ladles gravy and wipes down tables, he convinces himself that this is the moment everything will shift. Maybe Lily will walk in, see him giving back, and something in her will soften again. Lily does walk in. But the moment is nothing like what Kane envisioned. She spots him from across the room, apron tied at his waist, hair a little mussed, smile forced but earnest. Kane straightens the second he sees her, standing a little taller, hoping this is it, this is where he finally gets a point in his favor. But Lily's expression doesn't warm. She doesn't melt. She doesn't offer the approving smile he's been craving. In fact, her eyes narrow a little, her posture stiffens, and Kane's fragile fantasy cracks around him like thin ice. Because Lily doesn't see redemption, she sees performance. She sees convenience. She sees an act timed a little too perfectly close to their last argument. And Lily Winters refuses to be manipulated by grand gestures anymore. Even if Kane's intentions are pure, the timing is poison. She steps closer, polite but distant, offering a curt acknowledgement that what he's doing is good for the community, good, not impressive, but she makes it clear with her tone, her eyes, her entire aura, that one holiday volunteer shift isn't enough to erase months of broken trust. One apron, one smile, one serving spoon does not rebuild a relationship. Not theirs. Not ever. Kane's face falters, but he tries to mask it with a grin, tries to win her into a conversation about redemption and understanding, but Lily is immovable. Her voice is calm but hard, the kind of tone that feels more like a wall than a statement. She reminds him, without cruelty, but with finality, that doing the right thing for one afternoon doesn't fix the choices he makes the rest of the year. Doing one good deed doesn't address the sweet with Phyllis, the hidden agendas, the half-truths, the manipulation she keeps catching whiffs of no matter how he tries to hide it. And then, as if the universe wants to punctuate the tension with fireworks, Phyllis Summers walks in. Her presence slices the air like a blade. Lily's expression tightens. Kane tenses. Phyllis smirks, fully aware she's the flame in this emotional powder keg. She teases Kane about the apron, about the Good Samaritan cosplay, and Lily's eyes flash with an emotion somewhere between disgust and vindication. Because of course Phyllis is here. Of course she's part of the equation. Of course Kane's good deed is tangled up in messy strings he still refuses to cut. Phyllis doesn't even have to stir the pot, her mere presence curdles the air. But being Phyllis, she does it anyway. She hints, loudly, about the time she and Kane spent together, not giving specifics but giving Lily enough to assume the worst. Kane jumps in, defending himself, insisting it wasn't what it looked like, insisting Phyllis is twisting everything, which she is, but Lily has heard it all before. Lily stands silent for a moment, letting Kane trip over his explanations, and then she simply shakes her head. She's done. She is so emotionally tired, so bruised by disappointment, that she refuses to engage further. Kane reaches for her, not physically, but emotionally, using her name the way he always does when he's begging her to stay, to listen, to believe him. But Lily offers one final dagger of truth: that trust isn't built on theatrics. It's built on consistency, honesty, integrity. And Kane hasn't shown those things in a very long time. Then she walks away. The defeated slump in Kane's shoulders is instant, devastating, and impossible to miss. Phyllis pats him on the back with faux sympathy, offering a snide comment about how Lily will never appreciate a man like him anyway, and for a moment Kane looks at her with something raw: anger, irritation, regret. Because Phyllis may accept his flaws, but she also manipulates them. She may praise his darkness, but she feeds it too. And deep down, Kane knows Lily would never do that, even when she's furious with him. As the Thanksgiving atmosphere around them hums with charity and gratitude, Kane stands frozen in the eye of a storm he created. His good deed, instead of mending bridges, only highlighted how broken everything still is. The apron suddenly feels like a costume, the spoon like a prop, the entire gesture like a hollow attempt at redemption he hasn't truly earned. And as he watches Lily leave, walking out into the cold November air with her dignity and resolve intact, Kane realizes that unless he changes, truly, deeply, permanently, no number of good deeds, no matter how sincere, will ever bring her back. And with Phyllis lurking nearby, ready to stir the pot again the moment she sees an opening, it becomes painfully clear that Kane Ashby's road to redemption is about to get a whole lot messier, starting now. Kane stands there in crimson lights long after Lily has gone, his apron drooping off one shoulder, his hand still covered in the faint smudges of Thanksgiving gravy, as though the evidence of his good deed is trying to cling to him even as everything else slips away. The chatter around him, families laughing, volunteers swapping stories, children running around with pumpkin cookies, feels painfully distant, like a soundtrack from another world. In this space, surrounded by warmth and gratitude, Kane feels colder than he has in years. It's the kind of cold that settles deep, the kind you feel when you realize the bridge you were trying to rebuild has collapsed right at your feet, and you were the one who loosened every beam until it finally gave way. Phyllis Summers lingers nearby, her arms crossed, one eyebrow arched in satisfaction, or maybe curiosity, because even she can't fully decipher Kane Ashby when he's at his most vulnerable. For all her meddling and her chaotic humor, Phyllis understands heartbreak all too well, and for a flicker of a moment, sympathy softens her expression. But she masks it quickly, sliding back into that sly, knowing grin she uses like armor. "You know," she drawls, leaning on the counter beside him, "you can hang around like a lost puppy all you want, but she's not coming back in here to applaud you for serving mashed potatoes." Kane doesn't even flinch. "I wasn't doing it for applause." "Sure," Phyllis says, her smirk widening. "But you were definitely hoping for a reaction. And you got one. Just, not the one you wanted." Kane tears off the apron, tossing it onto the table with more force than necessary. "You don't know what I wanted." "Oh, please," she scoffs. "You're a man in love, grumpy, guilty, stubborn love. Of course I know what you wanted." He shoots her a glare, but Phyllis just shrugs. "Look, Kane, it was a nice gesture. Truly. But Lily doesn't want a man who does good deeds when he feels guilty or cornered. She wants someone who shows up consistently, not someone who throws on an apron once a year and hopes it cancels out the baggage." Her bluntness stings, mostly because it's true. Kane presses his palms against the counter, breath shaky. "I'm trying." "And she doesn't believe you," Phyllis says gently. "And frankly, I'm not convinced you believe yourself either." That lands like a gut punch. Kane tries to swallow the weight of her words, but they stick like glue in his chest. For the first time all day, Phyllis isn't smirking, scheming, or flirting. She's just being real. But real or not, Phyllis is still Phyllis, and in the next breath, she can't help stirring the pot again. "Maybe stop exhausting yourself chasing someone who's determined to see the worst in you," she offers. "Some of us are actually interested in the version of you that exists right now, flaws and all." Kane stiffens. He knows exactly what she's implying, and it terrifies him. Because Phyllis is easy in a way Lily has never been. Phyllis is chaos, exhilaration, recklessness, and acceptance. Lily, on the other hand, is the ideal, the dream, the impossible standard of love he's spent half his life trying to reach and falling short of anyway. I'm not interested in you like that, he says quietly. Phyllis smirks again, but there's a flicker of hurt behind it. You might not be now. But give it time. Heartbreak is a hell of a motivator. Before he can respond, the bell on the cafe door jingles and Billy Abbott strolls in, shaking off the cold with a grin that fades the moment he sees Kane and Phyllis together. His face tightens into that familiar mix of annoyance and suspicion, because where Kane goes, trouble usually follows, and where Phyllis goes, Billy's head starts to spin with all the possibilities he wishes he could ignore. Well, Billy mutters. This looks like a trio that spells nothing but disaster. Phyllis rolls her eyes. Relax, Billy. We're just two people having a conversation and one person minding someone else's business. Billy steps closer, his eyes locked on Kane. Lily just left looking like she'd been hit by a truck. What did you do this time? Kane's jaw tenses. Lily and I had a conversation. It didn't go well. That's all. Billy laughs darkly. With you, it's never all. Phyllis steps between them, irritated. Oh, will you stop acting like Kane kicked a puppy? Lily made her decision. End of story. Billy fires back instantly. Yeah, but Lily wouldn't be upset at all if Kane actually listened for once instead of chasing whatever chaotic fling he's using to distract himself. Phyllis's smile turns chilly. Careful, Billy. You're confusing fling with strategy. Billy looks horrified. Strategy? You're helping him manipulate her? Kane snaps, the frustration boiling over. Nobody's manipulating her. I'm trying to fix things, but every time I get close, something blows up in my face. Billy crosses his arms. Maybe that's because Lily knows you too well. Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes trust matters more, and you destroyed that. Kane lunges forward, anger flashing in his eyes. Don't you think I know that? Billy doesn't back down. I think you know it, but I don't think you accept it. Phyllis, sensing that punches are seconds away from being thrown, steps between them again. Boys. This is Thanksgiving. Can we not do the whole masculine chest-thumping routine today? But neither man is listening. Billy steps closer, lowering his voice. Lily deserves peace, Kane. And she's not going to get that with you circling her like some emotional tornado. Kane's voice breaks. I love her. And that, Billy replies, is not always enough. The words leave Kane shattered, and Billy knows it, but he doesn't apologize. He turns and walks toward the back to speak to Sharon, leaving Kane rooted to the floor, shaken. Phyllis watches him silently for a moment, her expression softer now. Come on, she says finally, nudging him. Let's get out of here. No point staying somewhere that makes you feel like garbage. Kane hesitates. Leaving feels like admitting defeat. Staying feels like torture. But the moment he sees Lily's empty seat by the window, a coffee mug still resting there, he realizes he can't breathe in this space anymore. He nods weakly. They walk out together into the icy evening wind. Outside crimson lights, the cold November air hits Kane like a slap, sharp and sobering. The twin scents of roasted turkey and peppermint swirl from inside the cafe, but out here, everything feels quieter, heavier, and so much more real. Phyllis tucks her hair into her jacket collar, watching him carefully. You okay? She asks. No, Kane says honestly. But I will be. Phyllis nods in approval. She likes the truth, real truth, not the selective honesty people in Genoa City prefer to serve like appetizers. So what now? She asks. Kane exhales, watching his breath turn to fog. Now, I have to figure out how to make things right. Phyllis laughs softly. Kane, you can't fix something Lily doesn't want fixed. He stares at her, eyes haunted. I don't believe that. Not yet. Phyllis tilts her head. And what if she moves on? Kane's throat tightens. Then I'll deal with that when it happens. Phyllis can't help but grin. You're stubborn. It's cute. Sometimes. But Kane isn't in the mood for flirtation. He looks toward the glow of city lights, mind spinning with memories, his marriage, their kids, the promises he made and broke, the nights he begged for forgiveness, the mornings he swore he'd change. He knows Lily has every right to doubt him. He knows he's earned every ounce of her mistrust. But the thought of giving up on her feels like giving up on himself entirely. Phyllis walks a few steps ahead, then turns back. Look, for what it's worth. I hope you figure it out. Just don't lose yourself trying to win someone back who may never look at you the same way. For once, her voice isn't sarcastic or sharp, it's sincere. Kane offers a faint smile. Thank you. Don't make it weird, she jokes, but Kane sees the warmth behind her eyes. Just as they're about to part ways, Lily appears across the street, talking quietly with